Okay, I'm glad to say I'm joined on the line by Mark Ellen. How are you today, Mark?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Yes, can you hear me? How are you? All right?
Yeah, all good up here. So you're coming up to speak at the Falkland Book Festival this weekend. Looking forward to your trip to Stornoway?
On Saturday, I think.
Yeah, how are you looking forward to the trip?
Terrific. Well, it's lovely. We were up in the Outer Hebrides about 3 years ago, my wife and I. I used to go there a lot when I was a kid. We used to go on camping holiday.
Right.
In Harris, a place like Luskenthal. And I came up 3 years ago and we did a trip, the two of us, down to Leverborough and out to St Kilda. And we had an absolutely fantastic time. So I'm looking forward to it very much. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I hope the weather's all right. Is the weather okay?
I wouldn't go that far. It's
traditional weather, though.
Yeah. You should get here okay, but that's about it. Yeah. So tell us about the book you're coming to speak about this Saturday. Rockstars Stole My Life.
Well, it's a book about, I suppose it's about 50 years of my relationship with pop music. It kind of starts when I'm about 8, when the first Beatles singles rattled down the spindles of dancettes in my home, and this great love affair starts with music and carries on in the book right up until 2012 when I ended with me on a private aircraft with Rihanna. Flying to 7 countries in 7 successive days for 7 shows, and the most, disastrous and chaotic trip I've ever been on in my life. And I thought that was a brilliant kind of, it was kind of emblematic, really, of what had happened to the music industry. It started off with this very simple thing about people buying records, buying posters, and buying tickets and going to concerts, and it turned into this kind of multi-million dollar industry. With massively overserved teenagers, and I thought it was just an interesting way to look at it, a really good bookend to talk about 50 years of music. And so the first part is me just, like anybody else, buying records and just really falling in love with pop stars and getting very excited about it all, and staying up all night listening to music, trying to think it's going to kind of deliver the meaning of life, and being in the school band and the college band and all those kind of things that a lot of people did. And then the rest of it, the second half, or the second 2/3 really, is about my professional life, when I started working as a kid for New Musical Express, and then a Record Mirror, and then Smash Hits, and Q Magazine, and Mojo, and I started working at Radio 1, and got a job taking over from John Peel on his late night show, and that led to being on a TV program called Old Grey Whistle Test, and that led to being one of the presenters of Live Aid. So I thought this is a brilliant device for allowing me to look at all the people I used to love as a kid, and these records I bought, and see how they turn out in real life. A lot of the time when I meet people, it's great and it's exciting, and they're more extraordinary and fabulous than I imagined they would be. And other times it's not quite so good. In fact, there's a line that seems to have escaped from the book, and it's now charging across the countryside, which is that I've got a theory of the 2 types of people in the world. There's the people who like Van Morrison and the people who've met him. So that's the kind of area we're in.
Good stuff. So, you've obviously been involved in a lot of magazine journalism. How did you find the process of writing a book compared to the other sorts of journalism you've been involved in? Oh,
that's a good question. Yeah, it's very, 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 very different. I mean, a memoir, this is a memoir. I'm not a celebrity. It's not one of those memoirs where, it's a boy, said Mrs. Ellen that fateful day in the mid-50s. It's not about me losing my virginity in chapter 3 or chapter 17, as it probably would be in real life. It's actually just about music. So you only find out enough about me to sort of understand who I am and why I got the opinions that I hold, really. But that is a completely different type of writing, because you can't just tell a series of anecdotes in a book. They've got to be there for a reason. And so when I meet members of the Beatles, or I meet members of Led Zeppelin, or I meet great heroes of mine, and Lady Gaga, or whoever, then the stories about them are there for a reason, because they illustrate something about the way I feel about music and what I learned from the experience. And so that's a very different type of writing, really, to simple journalism.
Yeah, and did you find yourself kind of researching your own life, or were you able to remember it all, or is accuracy not an issue?
Well, I've got a fantastic memory, actually. I remember things very, very clearly, but I've also got an enormous filing system. I don't really know why I kept all these notes, but I suppose I must have secretly thought, or subconsciously thought, that one day it was interesting raw material and maybe I would write about it. But I recorded absolutely everything. I took photographs. There's a photo in the book of my first ever concert I went to, a group called the Soft Machine of the Roundhouse in Chalk Farm. I photographed everything. I kept diaries. Obviously, I kept all the interviews that I did. And I kept notes in all the programs, the notes from the shows I did. And so I really had all that information at my fingertips. If you look at those things and work out, details when I was doing the John Peel show on Radio 1, I could look at Radio Times, which I still got. It would tell me who the other programs were that were on that day, and I can remember then walking down the corridor in Radio 1 when it used to be radios 1, 2, 3 and 4 in one corridor, and seeing the other broadcasters there, and it just brought it all back, and those whistle test shows particularly. I've got a script of every single show which tells me which bands were on. Once you know they were on, you can remember them. So that was really easy, actually. And also I think I made a note of a lot of this stuff because I really enjoyed it. When you're at the NME at the age of 23, and when you're presenting television programs like that, it was kind of a dream job, and I knew it was a dream job. And I wanted to remember it. I wanted to record it, really. So a lot of it I wrote down.
Okay, so you mentioned NME there. You've been involved in all sorts of journalism, right from the Record Mirror through to the Word. And I gather from your earlier comments, you're not overly enamoured with some aspects of the music business just now. How do you see the state of music writing just now?
Music writing, you mean music journalism?
Yep.
Yes, well, good. I mean, the quality is good. I mean, what I feel sympathetic about is that it's very difficult to produce magazines and newspapers in the 21st century, as you know. I was the editor of Word magazine, and the founder of it, in whatever it was. We started in 2002, and we were going for 10 years. We had an absolutely fantastic time, but it was really hard to do it in the face of the advertising drying up. So the difficulty is that the music press just simply doesn't have the reach and the power that it had. And I honestly, I'm trying very hard not to use the expression golden era, but I think I really did live through an extraordinary time. Because when I was at the NME, I mean, I'm kind of faintly send up some of the characters on it, Nick Kent, Julie Burchill, Charlie Murray, all those guys, because they were such enormous egos, Tony Parsons, But I understand why they had such egos, because the NME sold 250,000 copies a week, and it was read by about 4 people per copy. So if you wrote something in the NME, 1 million people would read it. And if you think that's a lot, I mean, when I got to Smash Hits, I was the editor of Smash Hits from 83 to 85. And we sold 600,000. It went on to sell 1 million copies. So the press was a fantastic time. In fact, there's 3 or 4 chapters about Smash Hits in my book, which was an absolutely magical time. The mid-80s, the video boom. And it's all the Human League and Adam and the Ants, Haircut 100, Culture Club, and Neil Tennant of Pet Shop Boys is the assistant editor of Smash Hits, but I'm the editor, and there's a lot of stuff about them. What a riotous time we had. We really were lucky.
Okay, so if you could jump in a time machine and go back to writing for one of these former magazines, which would it be? What was your favourite?
Oh, that's a good question too. I kind of liked them all in a way. I liked NME because it was quite serious, and the music we wrote about was really explosive and thrilling, and it was the tail end of punk rock groups that I really liked, like the B-52s and the Stranglers. And it was, they allowed you a lot of space, and you could really reach out and express yourself. And I loved the Smash Hits period because it was so funny. We wrote these psychedelic jokes, and it was just a very, very colourful and entertaining time. And I loved working at Word. Mojo, I was the editor of Mojo for a long time, and that was fun too, looking back at the world of box sets and reactivating the huge trajectories of these rock and roll bands like the Band or Dylan or the Faces or Bob Marley and the Wailers or whatever. And that was fun to go back to. Also going back to old records often is a way of going back to your own youth actually, and looking at yourself at the time, how you felt when you listened to them the first time. So all that was very thrilling, really.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, a few quick fire questions as a taster for Saturday. Favourite performance during your time hosting the Old Grey Whistle Test?
Oh wow, God, Old Grey Whistle Test. Let me think. Oh, that's a tricky one. Smith's good. Pet Shop Boys is fantastic.
Okay. Smiths will do. Smiths will do.
Loads of bands. Elvis Costello and the Attractions was superb. I can remember doing Elton John live at the Hammersmith Odeon. It was quite funny. No, we had extraordinary people on there. I mean, it wasn't quite as extraordinary as Live Aid. There's quite a lot of there's 3 chapters, I think, in the book about Live Aid, what it was like to be the presenter of that, and the utter chaos going wrong. Queen sort of series show, and the Who's set breaking down. So that's a text message from me on my phone, and that's very funny. And Bob Dylan at the very end appearing and coming up with the immortal words. I've never heard any less promising words, I have to say. When I was introducing this, the Bob Dylan at Live Aid for the British leg, Dylan came on stage. They came up with the least promising words I've ever heard anyone use coming on stage. He said, and Holmes, he said, hello, I'd like to bring on Ron Wood and Keith Richards, but I don't know where they are. So that's the level of chaos that's going on there.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so you're on Atlanta, 7 p.m. this Saturday night. What will the format be, Mark, for that on Saturday?
That's right, 7 o'clock on Saturday, I think. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So you'll be doing some reading and some question and answer, is that the...
I think I'll be doing some reading, definitely question and answers. I'm being interviewed, and I'm hoping to get a chance to talk about, I mean, if there are any questions about anybody's favourite musicians, I'm prepared to answer, because it's highly likely I've met them. I'd love to tell the story about interviewing Lady Gaga when she has absolutely no clothes on. During this interview, the biggest pop star in the world at the time, this was 2011, took all her clothes off, and I interviewed her when she started naked. So that was entertaining. And so if someone can ask me a question about that, I'll tell the story.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for speaking to me today. And
thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Excellent. See you then. Bye.
From across the Western Isles to your radio, this is Isles FM News.